Welcome back. This is still the AM show. My name is Gifty Andopia, and I'm doing this with Roland Walker. This time we're going to talk a bit about politics. This is your election headquarters, and you know that by all means. So like Roland said, I'm talking to John Dumelo, from actor to politician. I'll be finding out from him whether he will be still acting now that he's a politician. Mr. Dumelo, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Okay, so I just want to find out, how is the campaigning going so far? Because this is something you're doing quite often.
Yes. Good morning to your viewers and good morning to everybody watching from the Ayawaso West constituency. I think so far so good. The campaign has been great, especially during the COVID-19 partial lockdown. My team and I, including the constituency and everybody, we did such an amazing job reaching out to almost everybody in the constituency to hand out some form of relief packages in terms of food items, in terms of even some business loans for them or for those whose businesses have been affected. And so far so good. Everything has been nice and easy. Did
you just say almost everybody?
Yes.
You reached out to almost everybody?
Yes.
How many people do you have in your constituency?
Well, if you're talking about the number of people who vote, it's close to almost 100,000.
100,000.
But clearly, there are more people in the constituency. But if I say almost, I mean it's relative.
The relativity here, there, almost
yes.
is like, you know,
like
almost
50,
is like
60,
you're almost hitting the target.
Yes.
So 100,000.
No, 100,000.
Assuming we're doing 100,000.
Almost
100,000.
Yes.
I see. How has the journey been for you, transitioning from doing something much lighter to doing? No, I mean, I appreciate the stresses and you know
yes.
all the things that goes on in the industry. But if you compare acting to politics, it's a whole different ball game. How has it been, the transition for you?
I mean, for me, it hasn't really been. It's not really a whole different ball game. It's just it's literally the same. I mean, those days when I was acting, I mean, I still act, but those days when it was very intense, I mean, we still get up early in the morning, you know, go and film, come back late in the night, shoot through the night, wake up early in the morning. And so if you compare that or the working strategy to that of politics, it's almost similar in terms of the stress or what it comes with, you know. Mm-hmm. When you also look at being in the media landscape or the entertainment industry, I think all of us have also had our fair share of bad publicity. And so when you transition that into politics, you know, it's still the same bad publicity that you can. So for me, it's just transitioning from one side to the other. And even if you take a look at the movie industry, we are still educating and informing. Politics is almost similar. You're informing the people, but in this, you know, when you take being a member of parliament, you are adding to the laws or amending laws or you know, being a member of parliament to speak the language of your people because you are representing your people.
Someone will debate that seriously.
Really?
They'll say that, you know, acting is more about making people happy, bringing out the life issues.
But politics is also about making people happy.
Really? Well,
yes.
no, I mean, if you're talking about the output that you need to put out
yes.
there, but then if you're talking about the processes that you need to go through to put it out there, it's pretty different, but that's okay. Let's focus a bit more on Ayawaso West Wuogon.
Right.
Okay, before I get to Ayawaso West Wuogon, I wanted to find out you said it's almost the same.
Yeah.
Have you had any rude awakening kind of experience or culture shock kind of experience? The transition?
In terms of, no, I haven't. You know,
haven't.
because in the entertainment field, not everybody's going to like you. People like you, people don't like you. Same as politics. People like you, people don't like you. But for us or for me, it's about making those people who don't like you change their mind or like you more because you're interacting with them, you're speaking to them, you're trying to make them understand why you want to represent them. And so for me, it's kind of similar. Just that you have to, or I have to put more work into becoming a member of parliament because we are dealing with, interacting with, like I said, almost 100,000 people. You're dealing with talking. I mean, when it comes to film or when it comes to acting, you know, you do a film and it goes out on social media, on the media platforms, on TVs and stuff. But in this case, in politics, you have to personally interact with the people. And so for me, there's quite a similarity, but at the end of the day, you know, it's still reaching out to the people and trying to make them happy and trying to listen and addressing their concerns.
Why do you think the people of Ayawaso West Wuogon should vote for somebody like you?
I feel that, or what I know is that, number one, some of them, or, you know, majority of them are, of course, they're tired of, you know, the NPP being in that seat for almost 20 years. That's the first one. The second one is, I'm a young man, I'm a youth. Majority of those who vote in Ayawaso West are the youth. And so I click or align myself with the youth, and the youth align themselves with me. And so if you take these two reasons, I feel that the people of Ayawaso West, and they say that, John, you know what, I'm a young man, I'm a young lady, I'm 25, I'm 26, I want to vote for you because I know that when you get there, you know how it feels or what it feels for us to be happy, or for us, or for what we are going through. And so these are the few reasons why I know for a fact that the people of Ayawaso West Wuogon would vote for me. That
suggests that the demographics of Ayawaso West Wuogon is people like you. Is that what your research shows you?
Majority. I mean, look, if you take the voting population, majority of them are the youth, between 18 to 35. And so when you break it down into a subset of, or to break it down into a subset to Ayawaso West, it represents the same thing.
I see. And you indicated that the NPP has held onto this position for a very long time. Yeah. If you look at the results of elections, of subsequent elections, let me just even focus on the very recent one.
Right.
Linda Seyiram Al-Hassan, who you're contesting, seeking to contest, won by over 12,000 votes. The NDC's Kwesi Delali Bimpong had a fraction of that, if you like, 5,000.
Yes.
What makes you think that this is a time for the NDC?
But we pulled out of the election at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Well, you still have some votes?
Yes. So if we pulled out by 9 and we still had 5,000, and they were still voting for themselves till 5 o'clock, and they just had 12,000. That should tell you that if we had still continued, we would have won that seat fair and square. One time.
You've seen the amount of work that the NPP put in during this by-election. I mean, the streets of University of Ghana, for example, was lined up with people carrying placards for the NPP. In fact, the NPP gurus were all out campaigning. It looks like a seat that the party is bent on keeping. What is the John Dumelo strategy to snatch this seat out of the NPP?
I mean, mind you, there were two factors. The first factor is that the late Member of Parliament, which is Honorable Ejakon, had passed away. And so it was like, okay, sympathy. Let us vote for her because she's, you know, the wife of the late Honorable Member of Parliament. And so it's like, okay, Tomamina Tiaso, sort of. And so she won a lot of sympathy votes. That's the first one. The second one was the fact that it was a by-election. And at that time, there was no other election happening in the country. And so you would find everybody descending into Ayawaso West to sort of support her. And so these were the two factors. And so when you look at these factors, it's not really a matter of, oh, there were a lot of people there were placards, you know, it was a by-election. And every by-election, that is what happens. Everybody descends onto whichever constituency it is to campaign, and campaign well. And so for me, these two factors, I mean, because it was a by-election, that's exactly what happened.
Sympathy votes, you say. Yes. What's the scientific proof to back that?
No, everybody knew it was sympathy votes. Everybody knew. I mean, we all knew it was sympathy votes. And,
how do you know?
And that's what won her the seat. But this time around,
I guess my question is, how do you know? You could say it's easy for you to say that sympathy votes because someone has died. But what was the proof that the person did not win on merit, but on sympathy?
Yeah, but that's what they were. That's what the NPP were saying at that point. Sympathy votes. So, mommy, and so we all know it was sympathy votes, but that sympathy has run out completely. That sympathy has run out completely.
So, what is the John Dumelo strategy?
Well, I mean, I cannot say my strategies on.
Oh, you don't need to say it, but I mean.
But for me, it's more about touching base. I believe in more of retail campaigning than wholesale campaigning. I believe in going to everybody's house. I believe in interacting with everybody on the street, whether you're a voter or not. I believe in sitting down and having a one-on-one discussion with you, telling the people that, oh, this is who I am. Not the fact that I'm an actor and I'm famous, and so I'll sit in my house and cross my legs and say, oh, I'm TV in the class, I'm picture. No, I am down in the ground, on the ground. I'm interacting with each and every one of them. And so I believe in retail campaigning, just like what we did in 2008 campaign.
All right, so I want to bring you back to Ayawaso West Wuogon by election. Yes. On the day, on the day that this happened, where were you?
I was on Legon campus. I woke up at 4 a.m. By 5 a.m. I was at 7 polling stations. By 6 a.m. I was on Legon campus, seeing to it that everything was okay. And so from 6:30 in the morning to about 9:30, I was still on Legon campus with other NDC comrades who were there till we announced, they announced that, we had pulled out of the election. And so I was mostly on Legon campus. At
this time, were you harboring thoughts of being a parliamentary candidate?
At the by-election time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to contest in the by-election, but I pulled out.
Yeah, you pulled out.
Everybody knew that I had wanted to contest.
I'm talking about, following all the developments that came up back then.
Like the giddy giddy and all those
Yes.
things? Yeah.
You were still. What was going through your mind? Did it occur to you at a point that, look, this thing can get tacky, and this is not something I want to get involved in? Or did they actually just push you on, spur you on to say, well, this is it, we're ready to face it?
This is it, we're ready to face it. No amount of intimidation can stop us from voting. No amount of intimidation can stop the people of Ayawaso West from voting for who they want to represent them in Parliament. And so for me, it was like, okay, we're also battle ready. Let's move into 2020 and let's get the seat.
Intimidation, yes. Is that what you saw?
I mean, we all saw what we saw. We all saw what happened. Looking at the television, we all saw what happened in Ayawaso West Wuogon. We all saw the intimidation. We all saw the masked men. We all saw the beatings. We all saw the shootings. And so, of course, this is intimidation. We all knew that it was intimidation.
Government has said that they were there on a very special operation.
Which special operation? To intimidate?
They said it wasn't intimidation. This is a matter of national security. So you get people there to. You get people there to enforce law and order.
To beat up people.
But you saw intimidation.
Yes, clearly. When you see well-built men in masks, 10 or 15 of them on a pickup truck, that's clearly intimidation. Why are they there? Of course. And that's how come they had the short commission coming out to say, giving certain recommendations here and then. So everybody knew it was intimidation. But this time around, we are not going to allow that.
When you say this time around, we're not going to allow that, what does it mean?
It means we are just not going to allow that. We're just going to match them boot for boot.
Help me. Oh, you match them boot for boot?
Yes.
Is that conciliatory enough as a message that should be coming from politicians when it comes to, because people have said, yesterday we had a conversation here about our elections, and a political scientist among them said that people tend to follow. So your followers will follow. If the leaders go for conflict, you tend to have your followers going that way. If they go for reconciliation, you tend to have your followers going that way. Do you think that's for lack of a better expression, responsible expression to be coming from a politician?
When we say boot for boot, we don't mean violence. We don't mean we're also going to intimidate people. What we are saying is that whatever happens, we are also following suit. And so that's what we mean by, or that's what I mean by, we are going to match them boot for boot in terms of when it comes to elections in Ayawaso West Wuogon. And nobody's going to be intimidated. Everybody's going to go out to vote, and everybody's going to go out to vote for who they like. And at the end of the day, everybody should accept the results that this is the winner, which is John Dumelo.
They set up a commission to look into this matter. The commission sat for quite a substantive amount of number of days. We had our own Professor Mensa Bonsu. We have Justice Emil Short. We had great people of our time there. What do you make of the reports that they put together, first of all, before we get to government's reaction?
The report was okay. I found nothing wrong with the report. I found nothing wrong with the recommendations. So for me, I had nothing wrong with the commission that was set up.
Government was not very comfortable with the response, with the report. They rejected about 60% of it.
Yes.
What do you make of that?
Which was wrong. I mean, so then why do you have to set up the commission or the committee to look into the violence and then come out and say you are rejecting about 60% of the recommendations? I mean, that's wrong. That's like you're shielding people.
At least there was a 40% acceptance.
But 40% is failure. So if you say 40% as against 60%, and then so that means that they failed when it comes to implementation of the report.
Are there specific parts of the reports that you can speak to and your expectation of what government ought to have done, which gives you the impression that they actually failed?
I mean, look, the truth is that what were the men doing there on that day? What right had they to be masked? Why were they masked? Who gave them the instructions to be there? As of now, we don't know who gave the instructions, whether it came from the national security or came from the police hierarchy. We don't know who gave them the instructions. And for those who assaulted, as example, like the member of parliament for Nigo Pram, what has happened to him? Is he still at wherever he is working? Is he still there? And so on and so forth. And so all these things are things that we are bothered about. But then again, like we're saying, I am not so much bothered about it because per what the government said, we are also prepared, like I said, boot for boot on the 7th of December.
I like the part of the preparation. I want to find out what this preparation is all about, but I want to find, what is it? What would you have done? Let's assume that you were president. What would you have done?
If I was president.
Let's assume.
Of MPP.
Not MPP.
Okay.
Assuming John Dumelo is president,
yes.
and you had this report.
Yes.
You've seen the videos. You
yes.
saw all that happen. You heard all that everybody has said.
Yes.
Give me 2 things you would have done to make sure that this didn't happen again.
I mean, at least I would. The reason why I set up commission is with those caliber of people is because I trust them. I trust their judgment. And so when the report comes out, I would say, okay, you know what? I'm going to look at this report. At least 70 or 80% of the recommendations I would implement. That's the truth. That's what I would have done if I was president. But right now, I know the presidency matter. Member of parliament, I want to.
That's why I want to find out what you would do.
I would follow the recommendations.
Let's leave the recommendations
yes.
Out. And look at what happened at Ayawaso West Wuogon.
Yes.
You think what happened was so wrong.
Yes.
As president, what would you have done to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again?
Number one, no masked men should be allowed to enter into a community where they are voting. Why are they masked? If men have to be there to ensure security, they shouldn't be masked. They should be there. Everybody should know that, oh, these are security men, these are police personnel, these are soldiers. They've come to ensure law and order. And so for me, the masking is something that was wrong to me. I mean, well-built pickup. I mean, come on. Every election has security men there, and so
it would have been okay for you if these men had gone there without the masks.
Yes.
Your only problem is the mask.
Yeah, the mask and the intimidation. And why are you beating people by election? You're beating people. Stray bullets. It's wrong.
Okay. Apart from the masks, what else would you have done?
That's for me. That was basically it. I mean, it's just everything boils down to intimidation. And there are ways to intimidate people. And that was the first step of intimidation. I
see. Let's come to the boot for boot preparations.
Yes.
You've said that about 2 or 3 times
yes.
already. What's in that preparation?
Oh, now there are no free talk. I mean, I can't say it. Come on. I can't say it. My people are just ready to go out to vote. Those who are ready to vote for change are ready to vote for change even as of now. If the elections were held today, trust you, they will vote the NPP out in Ayawaso West Wuogon.
People have said that you seem to have a great focus on the University of Ghana campus. That's part of the strategy, right?
I mean, the University of Ghana is part of our constituency. University of Ghana has a large student population. And so for us, the same importance we give to University of Ghana is the same importance we give to Jolu or Belenque or Tesano or Baoleshi or Airport or Roman Ridge or West Legon. And so for us, it's about, we are giving, prior importance, or we're giving importance to each of the areas. But the University of Ghana, of course, has we all know their age bracket, and so they are more of the youth in University of Ghana, and myself, I'm a youth, and so I tend to align myself more with the University of Ghana because they can align themselves with me.
Not because they admire you from the movies, and so they think, oh, here is John Dumelo, yay, John Dumelo, let's go.
That one too is there. I mean, in politics, you have to use, in elections and politics, you have to use all the strategies you can to win the election. Somebody will vote for you because you are tall. Somebody will vote for you because you are short. Somebody will vote for you because they like how you walk. Somebody will vote for you because they listen to you on television and the way you are speaking. Oh, somebody will vote for you because there are so many reasons why people vote. And so it's about getting into the psyche of the voter and realizing that, okay, these group of people, this is how, or this is what will inform them to vote for somebody. And so it's a psychological game when it comes to politics.
Okay, so getting into the psyche of people and focusing on the youth is part of the strategy, part of the John Dumelo strategy.
Yes.
Okay, the others you will not tell.
Yes, please.
And preparing to meet intimidation booth for booth.
Yes. Focusing
on the youth, getting into the psyche of people.
Yes, please.
I see. The NDC, a party that you belong to.
Yes.
In your perspective, have they been a responsible opposition party?
Yes, very.
I don't expect you to say no, by the way, but why? but why do you say so? Why do you say so?
I mean, I think they are putting the MPP on their toes.
How?
I mean, look, typical example, the new voters register. Typical example. I mean, everybody is saying, why should we compile a new voters register? The modalities for even getting somebody a new card is wrong to start with, and so on and so forth. And so these ones are ways. This is just one example of saying, look, we are putting you guys on your toes because we are a better alternative than you guys.
If you say you are putting people on your toes, the same things that the party is saying today.
Yes.
Well, the same things that your party said in 2016 about the Electoral Commission. They had their disagreements with the Electoral Commission. They said, leave the Electoral Commission to do its job.
Yes.
Where is the sincerity in that?
Look, when the Electoral Commission, I think for us, what we know is that the Electoral, and what we know and what everybody knows, the Electoral Commission is an independent body. But when you come into power and you decide to change the Electoral Commissioner, that's the first one. When you decide to change the Electoral Commissioner, that's the first one. And so it's like you are changing certain players to align with you. The second one is that I don't think, and this is my personal view, I don't think anybody's against really the new voters register. But when they say that, oh, we're only using the NIA card as a form of proof to register, when the people who have registered are probably like 6 or 7 million so far, and the number of voters in Ghana are 18 million. How are you going to use that as a basis or as a proof to get a new card? Why don't you just use the old card to be able to register or to get your new card? And so you're disenfranchising over 12 or 10 million people because none of them have their NIA card. I don't know if you have your NIA card.
I don't.
Perfect. So if right now the register is going to be held today, that means you're not going to be able to vote, which is your right according to Article 42.
But that's the point they make, that if you're talking about using the existing ID cards. We have told you that there's a problem with the ID cards. We have told you that we can go ahead and use the ID cards, but we cannot guarantee that it will give you a free and fair election. So the problem is with these cards. That's why we don't want to include it. Perfect. Doesn't it make sense to you?
Perfect. But the old register has created or elected 2 presidents. The old register has done a successful referendum that has created new regions. The old register was used just December 17th for the district assembly elections. And then suddenly, after everything, you say, oh, there's something wrong with the register. Come on. Yeah, I mean, these raise very legitimate questions about the credibility of the EC.
Increasingly, the NDC continues to say that the Kufuor-led administration is teaming up with the NIA and the Electoral Commission to rig elections. On what basis?
Look, like I said, a lot of people have been disenfranchised, especially when you go to our strongholds. A lot of people do not have cards. Let me just give you a typical example. If you go to...
They don't have the NIA cards,
Yes, they don't have the NIA cards. I mean, if you go to Western region, you have about 1.6 million voters. As we speak, it's just about 600,000 or 700,000 people who have their cards. So that means that if they were supposed to hold a new registration today, you are disenfranchising over just 800,000 or 900,000 people. And so when you look at this, you can say that, okay, government, NIA, EC, they are one people and they don't want people to vote. And so that is what our stand is. Our point is that let a lot of people get the NIA card. In fact, even the amount involved even in getting the new register card we've not even started speaking about it.
Let me go on Facebook and get some of the comments that people are saying. Efo Kwame John says, John is a powerful name even in the Bible. Before Jesus was John. Before Philip was John, who outlived all the disciples. Okay, he goes on and on. He lived in, all right. This is exactly what you stand. Okay, God has already ordained you the next MP of West Wuogon. Don't be complacent with this though, because together we have a bigger fight for JM. Go for gold. I say, obviously, you see where the person is standing. Don't expect motivation from anyone but yourself. Success comes by works, but not what people say. Go higher. Dumelo. John Fraser Degba says, Alenti can go very low just to canvass votes for himself in the coming elections. Ask him when he will come and pound fufu for me. He should be rest assured. He used to be rest assured of 11 votes just by doing that, just like the numerous he has done in the past. I see. Yes. You seem to be having some nice comments coming your way.
Thank you. So you see, this guy wants me to come and pound fufu. But if I go and do it right now, they'll say, oh, typical politician. But that's what I'm saying. People vote based on certain things. And so if this guy wants me to come and pound fufu and I'll be assured of 11 votes, I will go and pound the fufu and be assured of the 11 votes.
But at the end of the day, anyway, it's about the numbers. But yes. at the end of the day, do you get the feeling that the Ghanaian voter will vote based on some what you have really in your manifesto, what the plans, the typical plans that you have that they believe will make their lives better? Or you get the impression that, I mean, Ghanaians are, you know, for the touch and feel of it, you know, just do something, create something that's funny, something that doesn't really make sense, then they'll get you get them to follow you.
That's why I said the Ghanaian voter is complex. Everybody and their needs. Somebody will just vote for you because you came to his or her house or home just to say, good morning, my name is John, I would like you to vote for me. Somebody to vote because I started giving out loans to businesswomen, men and women in Ayawaso West Wuogon, and they've had access to the loans and their businesses are expanding. Some will vote based on different reasons. And so that's the complexity of the voter or the Ghanaian voter. I mean, this is a clear example, like what the guy said. Come and pound fufu, I'll vote for you. Somebody to say, John, you know what do you have in store for businessmen and women in Ayawaso West? What do you have in store for the youth in Ayawaso West? Based on your response, I'll vote for you. And so everybody is different. But what happens is that if you do a general slogan or a general approach, you are going to miss out a lot of votes.
I see. You say you're giving out loans to people.
Yes.
What scheme are you operating with? I mean, give me an idea what this business support is.
And so, because of the COVID-19 that happened, the pandemic that happened, and the partial lockdown that happened, a lot of businesses, small-scale businesses, those who sell vegetables, coconuts, those who prepare, gari and beans in the morning, those who, all those. Cocoa, Kose, all these guys. What happened is that because of the COVID-19, their businesses collapsed. Now they need to stand back, or they need to stand up on their feet again. And so we are giving our loans for them, just for, remember, it's interest-free loans. And so if I give you 1,000 cedis, at the end of 4 or 5 months, I'm just expecting 1,000 cedis back. Okay. So that we can give that same amount to somebody else. I'm not doing it for pure profit's sake. I'm doing it so that you can make profit on it, use the interest to make profit, and then use that to stand on your feet and feed your family.
How many people have you supported so far?
So far, we've supported about 120 people. 120
yes. People. Yes. With how much each?
It ranges. It ranges from 300 cedis to about 1,000 cedis. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I bought an oven. A lady, she's she bakes in East Legon, and I bought her. She said, John, I just want an oven to expand my business. She had a very small stove. And so now we've given her the oven. She's baking about probably 1,000 loaves of bread a day. Hitherto, she was baking just about 200. And so her business has expanded. She's employed more people. She's feeding for her family. And she's taking care of herself. I
see. Apart from the business, the loans you talk about, what else are you doing?
We also have done water connections to most of the communities in East Legon where, they didn't have water connections. And so we are providing water. We've also provided some data facilities to some of the tertiary universities, especially on Gempa campus. And basically, we are just touching lives. And then, of course, during the pandemic, we shared so many bags of rice, oil, face masks, sanitizers, canned fish, and so on and so forth. I mean, we've done quite well in Ayawaso West Wuogon so far, and we are just moving into gear 2, starting by next week.
Who is funding all of these?
Myself.
From where?
My pocket.
Where's the money coming from into your pocket?
It's not actually. Actually, people ask me this question, and I say, to be honest, I don't know where the money is coming from, because whatever the little I have, that is what I give to the people. I share with the people.
And the little is quite a lot.
Well, it's relative. Your lot might be my little. My little might be your lot. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So nobody, no external funding?
No. I mean, but to be honest, I have friends. I have friends and parties who will come and say, oh, Charlie John, oh, the 100 Ghana, or get 500, or get this, or get 1 CD, or get 2 CD to support your campaign. Let me buy you food, or let me buy you bags of rice, let me buy you this. And so I have friends who are supporting. I have a lot of people who are coming together with their widow's mite to say, John, I see what you're doing. We want to help you to change what is happening in Ayawaso West Wuogon. And so this is how I'm funding you. It's not like somebody will come and give me 1 million Ghana or 2 million Ghana to fund my campaign, no.
Well, I don't know. We'll try and believe that. It's not like we have an option. But, but then I want to also find out what you make of those who are supporting you. Don't they have their own interests?
No, they don't. I mean, interest like, oh, okay, so what? I become member of parliament, and this comes into power, and then they'll come.
Well, at least let's focus on the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. They live in the constituency, like you're saying. Yes. So our friend is the MP. We put him there anyway. Anything can come from that.
I think for them, that is what just they want, that we put John there. And for me, that gives me some sense or level of accountability, because if I have 1,000 people coming together to say, John, get 5 Ghana or get 100 Ghana cedis, I'm accountable to the 1,000 people. If 10,000 people come together to say, John, we are supporting your campaign, I'm accountable to the 10,000 people. It's not really about funds. Sometimes it's about energy. It's about somebody say, John, you know what, I'm going to use my energy this week to campaign for you. And so that makes me accountable to each and every one of them. And that makes the level of failure, or the percentage of failure, very low when it comes to me delivering on my promises.
Are you in politics to make money?
No.
You say it as if you were expecting the question.
Yes.
Why?
And you asked the question as if you wanted me to say yes.
No. I'm just looking for an answer. I knew it could be yes or no.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not in politics to make money. Not at all. I mean,
do you think that answer convinces anybody, any sophisticated Ghanaian voter?
You know, everybody feels as if politicians or people get into politics just to make money. But at the end of the day, it is what your output that will determine their doubts, or the level of doubts in their head. And so if somebody says, oh, this guy's in politics to make money, but yet he's helping his people a lot, then those doubts will be out of their heads. But for me, I'm not in politics to make money.
What are you in it for?
I'm in politics to be able to amend laws. I'm in politics to be able to ensure that certain laws are made so that my people in Ayawaso West and the people of Ghana can have a good life.
What exactly, which areas exactly are you looking at in terms of making and changing laws that makes the lives of people better?
Farming, the youth. Farming and the youth, basically, and entrepreneurship. Those are my 3 main points when it comes to getting into parliament. And I don't know if this is a good example, but if you listen to Honorable Kenny Japon, who said, talked about the whole farming thing, and that for the fact that governments don't give subsidies to farmers. I mean, these are one of the reasons why I want to get into parliament, so that I can make sure that, look, there are a group of farmers. Farming is good. Farming is the new gold. Let us create ABCD for farmers in Ghana to be able to produce so that they are competitive. I mean, if now you look at the price of maize compared to the imported price of maize, the imported one is cheaper than what we grow in Ghana. And so these are the things that I'm looking at to be able to change in parliament. Look at the imported chicken, compare that to local chicken. Local chicken might be expensive than imported chicken, but we should be able to make laws so that the prices become competitive. And Ghanaians really their choice of product is normally price-based. And so if they know that, okay, this is a little bit cheaper, but it's made in Ghana, Ghanaians will go for it.
Okay. I'll ask this question later.
Some question there.
Okay. I'll ask this question later. So then you agree with Kennedy Japon on the point he makes about farming?
Government subsidy? Yes, that's what I want, about the government subsidy part. Okay. Yes, but I disagree with him when it comes to him saying about, nobody should get into farming, and farming is, you can't be in a crime. Yeah, I mean, that one I disagree with.
You disagree with him?
But I agree with him on the subsidy part. I feel he was giving his personal view about his experience in farming. but they've also been successful farmers around. But like I said, success is relative. If you buy 2 goats and you are and you're wearing goats.
You wear goats like my grandmother. She talks to them sometimes.
Exactly. But your grandmother can say she's a successful farmer.
No, and she's not.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. Success is relative.
She keeps them for company.
Ah, okay. So that's what I'm saying. Success is relative. If I had 100 goats and they're doing well, I'll say, oh, I'm successful at goat farming.
Okay.
And so maybe he was expressing his personal views, but I don't think those are the views of other farmers in Ghana. I mean, farming is great. It's a great thing. And I wish and hope that most Ghanaian youth will get into farming.
Okay. I've heard some people say that getting married was part of your plan to get into politics. It was part of the strategy.
How?
Maybe so did they talk.
Oh no, that'd be lie. Marriage, there you go marry at a point in time.
They said looking at John Dumelo. I mean John Dumelo.
What be the John Dumelo?
You see, so
no, please explain that.
I think we should add Kofi Kinata.
Why?
Oh, you've not heard your name in his song.
Okay, go on. Okay. Now I get the John Dumelo.
You get the John Dumelo.
Yes.
So people are like, John Dumelo, you know, he's not. I think people kind of had this perception about you, and you weren't the, you know, the kind that was going to get settled and marry. You know, Roland was telling me today that if he hadn't married early, he's not sure he would have married. You know. So things like that. People saw you in that light. So they thought once you got married and. Everybody, I heard so many people say that this is a part of your plan to get into politics.
No, marriage happens at a point in time. Everybody marries. I mean, some people believe in marriage, some people don't, and marriage just comes like that. You feel it. Okay, Charlie, but it's not.
They say it makes you feel responsible. It makes people perceive you to be responsible. That's why you did that. That's why you got married.
No, not necessarily.
Okay. You just met your wife, fell in love.
Marriage comes with a level of responsibility. It does come with a level of responsibility, but I don't think marriage. In my case, my marriage had something to do with, okay, I want to get into politics. I want to seem responsible. I mean, there are a lot of irresponsible people out there who are there. So it's not really about.
It wasn't. Your marriage was not part of your strategy to get into politics.
No.
Okay, so that people will see you as a responsible person. It wasn't.
Yeah, there are a lot of irresponsible married men.
Okay, I have just 2 final questions, and I need to wrap up. The first one is, yesterday we had a conversation, and some of the civil society organizations were pushing for limited registration, sort of.
For NDC.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So because they were looking at the election and COVID-19, that it would be safer if you have fewer people to manage, if you have fewer people, and they thought that a limited registration of sort will help.
Yes.
What's your perspective on that?
I think that's a step in the right direction. Having limited registration. Look, if you are now going to re-register 18 million people, as against a fraction of that when it comes to limited registration. And so we are in COVID-19 times, like you said. Gatherings can promote the infection of more people in terms of COVID-19. And so for me, I think limited registration is the best way to go.
Okay.
Let's just do a limited registration. Let's add the new guys to the voters register. Let's vote peacefully on the 7th of December. And then, you know, later on we can talk about the new register.
Are you ditching acting? Are you still going to act?
Yes. I mean, people in parliament, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're businessmen, they still do their businesses, they still practice what they do, and so acting will forever be a part of me. And
so you'll be like, you know, still kissing in movies and touching women?
No, I know if you touch.
So you'll not be taking on.
If I touch, the speaker go ball plus me.
So you'll not be taking on roles that are romantic in nature because you're in parliament.
I think that the directors will know that, you know, John's position now is a bit sensitive, so let's not put him in a position that will jeopardize his political career.
If they give it to you for $1 million, you won't do it still?
So maybe I kiss somebody for $1 million. Oh, I'll be that one day. I go take. Now I won't pay $1 million.
Okay, final question. It's not coming from me, even though I wanted to ask. Mary Norte is asking, John, please, till you are there, no complacency. Anyway, where is your wedding ring?
I'm polishing it.
Why? Was it cheap?
No, it was, you know, because of the campaign and stuff, sweat and dirt. So I'm polishing it, but because of the COVID-19, the shop is still closed. So when they open, then hopefully 31st, if presidency, everything we could, then they open the shop, and I will call the guy, say, give me.
The shops are open.
No, my shop, you know, they don't open.
Are you fighting with your wife?
Oh no, how?
Okay.
Ah.
So there, you know
what? People who even fight cry, they put on more rings. So it's not a matter of no fighting, no, not at all.
So you're not lying to Ghanaians?
That
you're polishing your ring?
No, I'm serious. No,
you're
that's
polishing.
The honest truth. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the honest truth.
Okay.
But you see me wear it. I mean, but everybody knows I'm married. So whether I wear the ring or not, you know, everywhere I go, hey, how's your wife? Where's your wife? Is she okay? I say yes.
Oh, we're just wondering.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any final words?
I did for you.
For who? For Ayawaso West Wuogon.
Yes, but I just want to say, look, Ayawaso West is an interesting seat. I just wish everybody who lives in Ayawaso West, schools in Ayawaso West, works in Ayawaso West to make sure they get registered so that on the 7th of December they can vote for myself and they can vote for the presidential candidate John Dramani Mahama, so that the better alternative can take the reins of power and make Ghana a better place.
Okay, I've ended. But would you love to be the vice president, the running mate?
Like to be the no.
Do you think you stand a chance?
No, I don't stand. I mean, there are more.
Who in the party do you think should be?
There are people more qualified than me.
Like who?
Oh, a lot.
Like who? Give me two.
No, I don't want to give names.
All right.
But
okay.
yourself, you did.
I'm not an NDC person. My producer will penalize me for taking that time. But it's been an interesting conversation. John Dumelo, he wants to be Member of Parliament for Ayawaso West Wuogon. So we've been talking to him about that. He's been telling us about his strategy, a bit of that as well. John, thank you very much for coming. And I wish you all the best.
And I wish everybody all the best.
Let's do entertainment with Kadi.